Hello, CB. Hi, welcome. Good
Well,
morning.
thank you for having me.
Good morning.
I've never been to the Netherlands before, so this is a big deal.
Oh, well, welcome to the Netherlands here. This is, well, let's start with some introductions. This is a podcast. It is. I know, it's crazy. We're going to talk about video games, things happening in gaming. What are we playing among us, among each other, you know? And yeah, what is going on? So I think it's nice to start with some introductions. So CB of the Wastikins, do you want to take this forward?
Sure. I am CB, last name Wastikin. And when Sashi approached me with this idea of a gaming podcast, I was like, that's never been done before. So I thought that it would be good to be the first. And here we are. I don't really know what to tell about myself. In my day job, I write really terrible TV. And at night, I play way too many video games.
Well,
What?
well I mean, what?
Did you say that's a lie?
I would never. But I am curious. What kind of games do you like? While we're at it, what butters your croissants, as we say in Europe?
Oh, I see. These are the things I need to learn. I need to learn before I come to visit. So, in terms of what I play, that's a good question. I am somebody who plays a little bit of everything to the point where it can be too much. If I see a new trailer for something, I probably will want to play it. And so Game Pass and PlayStation Plus and every other like streaming service right now that allows you to play whatever game you want, they're very dangerous for me because I'll have like 8 games on the go. So some favorites of mine though, I absolutely love Breath of the Wild. I really like Death Stranding. I think I'm the only person in the world. And super giant games. Like I love Higher and Hades and that sort of stuff. Those are a few of my favorites. Yeah.
Classic.
What about you, Mr. Sashers?
Mr.
What are some of your
Sashers?
favorite games?
Well,
Yes.
I am Sashers. I have to say I do like the Zelda games. I was looking at the new one that was coming out, which looks very cool. But I haven't played that many. I've only played I played the original Zelda, from like 19 whatever it is. I've played Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, and I haven't even completed those. I get really far into the game and then I just drop it because that's my style of gaming. So very
That's
cool.
you know what? That's acceptable. We accept all types of game players here.
Exactly, mobile gamers, all kinds of gamers, right?
All kinds of gamers, even the gotcha gamers.
Even the gacha gamers. I know they don't have a place on the internet, but you can always find
No.
a place here. Yeah.
Whales, all of them. We accept them all.
Yes, exactly. Well, I don't know about whales, actually, now that I second thoughts. All right. Well, this is the Second Monitor podcast. We're called the Second Monitor because you can put it on your second monitor. It's very big brain stuff. I know. It's crazy.
We don't expect you to look at our faces. Actually, we would prefer that you did not.
You know what? You're right. Yeah, that is true.
Yep.
You could put it in the background on your second monitor. That's the priority that we take.
That's it. That's exactly it.
But it's 2 white guys talking about video games. Absolutely revolutionary. Crazy.
Very novel, yes.
Very novel, yeah. But I'm Sashi. I also don't really work in video games, but I spend every single free second of my life that I have playing video games. Or if I'm not playing
And what
them,
are a few of your favorites?
a few of my favorites. So lately I've been playing Genshin Impact. I know it's a small indie game, not very popular, but
Can you describe that to me? Like what kind of appeal is it?
Legend of Zelda. That's the one. It's pretty much the Legend of Zelda, but
Okay. And how many
with
hours
gacha.
have you put into this?
I couldn't tell you. Honestly, I not that many. I honestly just played the game so I can get Raiden Shogun, which is one very nice character, and Mona, and I got both of those on my first try that I was pulling them, and so I pretty much beat the game at that point. So I don't have to play it anymore. But
So instead of playing The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, you have been playing Genshin Impact and rolling for
We're rolling for... Look, you can't roll for waifus in Zelda, right? So...
I mean, technically, you're not wrong. You're not
clearly...
wrong.
Genshin is clearly the better game.
This is a good time to transition into the actual podcast.
All right. Yes, video games. Right. What happened? There's been a lot of news that happened this week. Really, really. Well, not this week, but lately.
Lately, yeah.
Very, very cool stuff has been happening. For starters, E3 is canceled. No more E3. More like E-bye, right? Yeah. I know.
Do we think it's really dead? So like it has been canceled for this year. Do you foresee it coming back in the future though?
See, well, they didn't specify that it's canceled indefinitely, but also it's like, I mean, I don't think it's going to be coming back anytime soon, if it ever comes back. Or if it does come back, it's going to be in a different format, not this in-person event that they're doing, which at that point they might as well not call it E3. That's just my opinion. I don't see this coming back. I think the time of E3 is gone, and we're moving on to Jeff Keighley taking over the world. So that's where we're at.
Key 3, yes. Yes.
G3, yes, exactly.
It's one of those things where it feels like the industry has moved on. Like I remember 2015, 2016 was like the peak of E3 for me personally. I remember I took time off, to go and watch those. I would stay up late into the night watching all of the reaction videos and getting the gameplay demos and all of the impressions for people. Like it was the best time of the year. It was like Christmas for me. And I think it was the same for you, right?
Oh, yeah. Major gaming moments, staying up until like 4 a.m. to watch E3.
But it feels like it has definitely shifted away from that in terms of E3's importance. Like back then, we didn't, I would say like influencers or like, I hate using the term influencer, but content creators have kind of supplanted, like they've become more of the primary voice to reach consumers. Yeah. So Twitch streamers, YouTubers, and that sort of stuff. And they just weren't as big back then. And so you kind of needed the press to go in and try out the games, give impressions and that sort of stuff. But that's not what drives sales anymore. And so E3 is just not as necessary as it once was. You can now get away with just doing an online Nintendo Direct style conference. Yeah. And then all of the Twitch streamers will watch that live and react to all of that content. The YouTubers will record their reactions and then upload that. And it's just not necessary to spend all of the money going to do a live show and giving in-person access to those games. You can just do everything online now.
Yeah, I know. That is true. And I do actually prefer the online style. I do miss E3, but at the same time, I also don't miss E3. It's kind of one of those things where I'm glad we're moving to more digitalized. Everyone can do their own thing, and we're getting a lot more releases randomly throughout the year rather than just waiting for a full year with nothing happening and then just E3 dropping a bunch of stuff, which was also cool, but
See, that's interesting. For me, I do definitely miss the old format, and it's for a couple of reasons. So, one, E3 was everybody kind of comes together and celebrates games, but also I hate the console wars. I just hate them so much because I'm like, it's healthy competition, but also, what the heck, guys? Let everybody play the games. But at the same time, there was something exciting about each company trying to one-up each other because it was healthy. It was like, okay, we've got to bring our A game and be the best one there. And it meant that everybody was kind of pushing each other to put out better products and all of that. And so having that in a single place at that time was very, very exciting. You'd have Nintendo usually as the last one, and they would do their own kind of direct. PlayStation would be at the end of like Monday, if I remember, like at night. You would have Xbox on, I think, the Sunday. Like everything was scheduled so that it would all fit together really nicely. But then throughout the year, you would also have other events. So E3 was the big one. And then slowly over time, like Gamescom was getting bigger and bigger each year. And you also had Paris Games Week, which was really growing quite fast. You had TGS, which is Tokyo Game Show. And so there were like other pieces. There was also at one point PSX, I think, which like the PlayStation Experience was right at the end of the year. And then, of course, the Game Awards just kept growing and growing and growing. So it was really only the early part of the year around like GDC that was kind of dead. But that's when we would start to get a lot of releases. So I kind of miss the old schedule a little bit.
And then the Geoffening happened, and the industry is no longer the same.
No, it's true. He kind of runs things now.
He's the big boss. Yeah,
he's the guy. He is the big boss.
But yeah, I don't know. What are your favorite E3 moments? That's what I'm curious to hear.
Okay, if I'm having like a rough day, this is a little embarrassing to admit, but if I'm having like a rough day, I will just put on old E3 conferences. Like they get me so hyped up and just like cozy and feel good. And so a few of my favorites, I love the E3 2017 Nintendo Direct, where it was the first one after they had released the Switch, and seeing Mario Odyssey in there, getting the announcement of Metroid Prime 4. That was very exciting. The 2016 Sony conference, as well as the 2015 Sony conference. 2015 had the return of The Last Guardian. It had the announcement of Final Fantasy VII Remake. It had Shenmue 3. Like, it was packed full of unexpected announcements. And then 2016 had the epic God of War reveal. That blew me away.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Horizon Zero
that
Dawn.
Crazy.
Just so many. So I would say between those years, there was a lot of good stuff. There were some older conferences as well. Like there was an Xbox One back in the day that had tons of announcements. I can't remember exactly what year it was. But yeah, a whole bunch of those. Yeah, what about you?
Well, I agree with all of the ones that you mentioned, but there's one moment that is imprinted into my mind, and it's not the Keanu Reeves moment, which is also pretty good. But the one that I always remember is Hideo Kojima walking down the steps after he got kicked out of Konami, and
that was the 2016 conference. Yeah,
that was the 2016, and it was so good.
And the only words he said was like, "I'm back."
I'm back. That's right. That was the best thing ever. I lost my shit, but it was also
so good.
It was so funny because it seemed like it wasn't scripted at all, but at the same time, everything was like scripted. But he was walking ahead of the steps. It was it was just perfect. It was the best thing ever.
It was. If he had walked with the steps, it would have been too perfect. You're absolutely right. Like it would have been like, oh, okay, this is the moment. No, instead he's a little bit too fast. He's a little bit awkward and quirky, and it was perfect because he's such a likable guy.
I know. It was so good. Oh, yeah. I am excited about the new releases coming up though. Yeah, we've had a lot of really good games coming out recently. A lot of big budget titles. A lot of companies it seems like they're bringing their A game. I know Diablo IV just recently had a beta. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is obviously releasing soon. I know you're going to be spending every free hour that you have on that game as soon as it releases. I know you're getting ready to do that.
I have taken, this is the thing, I've taken time off of gaming just to like detox. I am going so hard into Tears of the Kingdom. So I've booked off the day that it comes out, and then it's into the weekend, and then I've booked off the following 5 days from work to prepare for this. So yeah, I am set to dig in. I'm probably going to put in my 50 plus hours in that first week and just enjoy every moment. So yes, I'm very, very excited about that. Now you don't have a Switch, is that right?
I don't have a Switch. No, I haven't bought a Switch. I feel really bad. I really want to play this game, but I have to buy a Switch in 2023 and run games at like 480p. I really wanted to play Bayonetta 3, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I felt really guilty about buying a console that came out like 50 years ago.
And it's always that question of when is the next one going to be? And you can never predict it with Nintendo. Like, I would love to say, okay, the last console came out in 2017. It's been 6 years. Historically, that means that it's coming out next year at the latest. But with Nintendo, for all I know, they could wait another 4 years.
Right? Like, I don't know. At this point, I was expecting for them to release a new console with Tears of the Kingdom, because they've been pretty consistent about releasing consoles with Legend of Zelda games.
Yeah, definitely.
But it doesn't seem like it's going to happen unless they shadow drop some console out of nowhere.
Day one, go out next month and buy a new console. That would be wild. But no, I don't think so. I think we are going to see a fidelity leap. Like, well, I say definitely, absolutely. Don't trust anything I say, because Nintendo's unpredictable. Like, who would have ever guessed that Nintendo Labo would be a thing?
Oh yeah,
like you just can't guess what Nintendo's going to do. But I think they need to at least get a little closer to parity with other consoles, if not like up to PS5 and Xbox Series X levels, but up to PS4 levels at least in terms of fidelity, so that developers aren't having to set aside entirely different resources to develop for it, because there's such a gap now. It was behind the times when it came out, and then it's now been another 6 years.
Yeah, it is a while. Like, I do like the games that are coming out, because then I can legally emulate them on PC and play them at higher resolution. But at the same time, I do want to. I do want to see a next-gen console, or at least a current-gen console from Nintendo. Because
they've pulled off some miracles. Like, when I think about some of the games that have released in the last little bit, Metroid Prime Remastered looks incredible. To this day, like, obviously they updated some of the lighting and the textures and that sort of stuff, but it looks amazing. But that's largely because of the art style as opposed to the actual graphics themselves. And again, the fidelity. I think Tears of the Kingdom looks great. The Breath of the Wild looked great thanks to its art style. Some really clever use of, color and that sort of stuff. So you would always be looking out for bright blues and pinks, and that's how you know that there is either an interest point or danger. But there's also parts in that game that to this day go at like 15 frames per second, like the area that you find the Master Sword. And I will not say what that is, but just get ready to basically watch a slideshow. And so I am ready for them to show off what they can do with something higher. Like Xenoblade Chronicles 3 looks amazing, and it ran pretty solidly at 30 frames per second. But imagine what they could do if they did develop a game for a modern console.
Yeah. But then, do you think they would still go with the handheld kind of format, or are they gonna?
So I've been having this conversation with a bunch of people. I want to get your thoughts on it, because on one hand, I think they have to, right? Like, Nintendo has always been kind of the king of the handheld space. Yeah. On the other hand, why would they not take this opportunity to branch into two revenue streams again? So when they moved over to the Switch, they came from the Wii U and the 3DS. Before that, it was the Wii and the DS. Before that, it was the GameCube and the Game Boy Advance. Before that, it's like every generation, they had a handheld as well as a main console. So despite the Switch selling as well as it has, in some ways they have less revenue than before because they're only selling one console. Yeah. So do you think that they're going to continue in the handheld space? And also, are they going to create two separate devices, or is it going to be a hybrid like the Switch is?
Yeah. See, that's a very good point that I haven't really thought about. It does make sense to expand a little bit, because the Switch is already doing pretty well. Even if it's dated, like, obviously the new Zelda games coming out, it seems like the Switch is going to live for at least the next 2 or 3 years at minimum, with games like these coming out. But I do think it is a bit dated. The thing is, I think most people, what they are expecting to see from Nintendo is the Switch 2. I think that's what everyone's waiting for. I don't think they're waiting for a desktop console or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
I think I think they have a pretty strong market position in this, and it would make sense to develop a kind of a next-gen console for the handheld. I think there's other players coming around, like PlayStation had theirs recently announced, right? Some kind of a handheld streaming console. A rumor, yes. But also, that's not going to even take a fraction of the Switch's player base in any case.
No, not at all.
There was the Asus ROG Ally, which was also announced, which is kind of a Steam Deck competitor. I know Steam Deck is kind of the main Switch competitor, but I think what Nintendo has is the games like Tears of the Kingdom, the exclusives that are coming out for Nintendo.
Yeah, and that's always been the differentiator. Like, this isn't, like, everybody quotes the Steam Deck as being like the first competitor since like the Sega days of having a handheld. Really. And I don't think that's true, really. It's just like the most direct comparison to the Switch for being a powerful enough console to play console quality games or PC quality games in the case of Steam Deck. And I still don't see Steam Deck as a direct competitor to Nintendo just because of the Nintendo appeal. They have their original IP, but also it's a very tailored, curated experience. When you boot up the Switch, it is the simplest UI you can imagine. It's like your games are front and center. You click on it, you play. Everything is set to go for you. There's very little that you can do on the Switch outside of some maybe accessibility features. Whereas the Steam Deck is meant for enthusiasts. It's very difficult to make games work on it at times. It's not a straightforward procedure of like, oh, no, I own this game, and then you just play it. No. You have to do a whole bunch of tweaking to get them to run at their best, and that's part of the appeal. And, it's not even the most powerful one on the market anymore. There's the Aya Neo. As you said, there's the ROG coming down the line, which is far more powerful, but also far, far more expensive. And so Nintendo kind of plays in that space. It's the cheapest one on the market, and it's stacked with games that you can't play anywhere else.
Yeah, it's the Nintendo Labo of handhelds.
That's it. It's the Nintendo Labo.
I will always love that concept. It was so funny to see it when it was first releasing.
It was so weird, and I loved it because I think the problem with it was its limited time appeal. Like, they didn't keep coming out with more projects for it. Like, I kind of wanted them to regularly every few months be like, oh, and here's a new one that you can get and use. It was so clever in teaching how to build, the engineering behind it. It was interactive. It was a little weird that the cardboard itself was so expensive and very easily damaged, I would say. But despite all of that, I thought it was a super cool project.
It's a Nintendo branded cardboard,
You know what? You're right. I should have taken that into account. It was Nintendo branded cardboard. Well, okay. Along the same line, though, with the Tears of the Kingdom coming out, there was something that I've been thinking about, and it has to do with pre-orders. So I know that I'm going to be playing Tears of the Kingdom day one. It's not even a question, right?
Of course.
On the other hand, I have not pre-ordered it, and there's a reason I have not pre-ordered it. I've told you, I think, this story before, but for listeners out there, I have only ever... I have a very terrible history with pre-orders. I've only ever pre-ordered 2 games. And while both turned out to be good games, at launch, they were atrocious. The first was Mass Effect Andromeda.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought that was surefire a hit. It's coming from BioWare, and who had a great track record up to that point. Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 are fantastic games. And then that arrived on day one and had like reviews that were in the 6s, and the faces were freaky, and the game ran terribly. And
it sure did.
Big mistake. big mistake.
And then you pre-ordered
Cyberpunk 2077. A more surefire hit. You're talking about the studio who brought us The Witcher 3. Said, we will take all the time in the world. They delayed the game and delayed the game and then delayed the game again. and we're like, okay, it's going to be a banger. All the previews were like, this is going to be game of the century. I'm like, okay, awesome. I can feel safe pre-ordering this. The reviews came out, and they were like mostly 9s. Like it was like in the 80s, 90s range. Yeah. And then we all know how that went. It did not go so well.
Yeah.
And
I think it's just the curse of CB. It's
this one's on me. I will admit those ones are on me.
Yeah.
I should not pre-order, and so I even said, for other games, like I won't pre-order Final Fantasy 16. I'm not going to pre-order
thank you.
any of those because I need them to be good for other people. But I want to ask you about pre-order culture. So have you ever pre-ordered a game?
I can't remember any game that I've pre-ordered, honestly. I don't think I've ever pre-ordered any games. Because that's the thing. It's like, as much as I really like a game, I see games like Mass Effect Andromeda or Cyberpunk, which are so hyped. That's going to be like the best game ever. It's coming from like the developer of The Witcher 3, which also actually did have a really good launch. It had a pretty rough launch, but
yeah, that's true.
At the end of the day, it was a really good game. People really liked it. It seemed like it fixed all of its issues. So people had high hopes for Cyberpunk 2077 to have a really good launch. But, it is what it is. So that's one more reason for me not to pre-order video games, But occasionally you do get games where you pre-order and you get a really nice game to play. But to me, it's not worth it's not worth pre-ordering. Like, you don't lose anything buying a game after it comes out. So unless you really want those pre-order bonuses, like an extra weapon skin or something. Like what was
occasionally
Diablo's
there are some
pre-order? It was like you get an extra mount or something. It's like I could do without the mount.
A lot of I don't find the digital assets to be all that appealing most of the time. I remember even like Overwatch came with a few extra skins that you couldn't get elsewhere, and that can be tempting in some ways. But is it like, again, you run the risk. So I guess the question around like pre-order culture is, it's become more and more of a thing over the years. It didn't used to be a thing. When we were younger, you couldn't really pre-order games. And again, they couldn't tweak games. So games had to be ready when they came out. Because once it was on the cartridge, that was it. Or on the disc. Good luck. You can't patch it. So it wasn't as much of a risk, but also there wasn't this pre-order culture. Like, they weren't incentivizing you to order it beforehand. They just wanted people to buy the game.
Yeah. And whereas you got to make a good game. If you don't make a good game, nobody's gonna buy it.
That's exactly it, right? It was front loaded. You had to get your sales in with the product that you were selling, as opposed to the product that it will be in 6 months from now. Whereas I feel like there's an acceptance now that a game can have a rough launch, but as long as it gets better over time, people will still be okay with it.
Okay, I don't know if you saw this. I think it was Redfall, where the developers were like, we're going to release the game without an optimization mode. So it's going to run at 4K 30 or like 4K 30 FPS or and it's going to have an optimization mode where it's going to run at 60 frames, but basically like a performance mode, right? So like a couple of games have that, but it's not going to ship with a performance mode. That's going to be added like in post. Basically, they're going to release the game and then they're going to fix it in post is what's happening. And I found that really
so
funny.
I think, just to clarify, I think that's on, I don't think that's on PC. I think that's on Xbox, the Series S and X exclusively. But yeah, so generally these days you get a frame rate priority mode, meaning that it'll be 60 frames per second, ideally, and you'll get a
first
graphical
shooter
priority mode. And so, can you imagine playing Redfall at 30 frames per second as the only option? It feels bizarre, right? Like, this game has been in development for a very, very long time. There are previews out there already about the game. And it feels weird for sure.
I know. Yeah, I'm not that big of a fan of the pre-order culture that's been taking place lately, but I think that's up to every person to decide. It seems like it's very profitable, so companies that are going to keep doing it, they're basically
and there's incentive there for them, right?
Yeah.
So you are handing over, like, so I live in Canada, and in Canada, games nowadays, if they're full-priced games, are either $79.99 or $89.99. So you're paying around $100 for a brand new video game. And
Canadian.
so Canadian.
Monopoly
$100
money.
Canadian, which is like $10 US. So, but that's a lot of money. Like you're giving that money over. And if let's say you put in your pre-order 2 months ahead of time, that is money that the company then gets to take, and they get to invest into other things. Whereas if you keep that money and then you wait for reviews, let's say reviews come out 2 days before, most things are bought digitally these days. And even if it is you're going into the store to get it, you can still pick it up day one for the most part and not suffer any penalties. But you could just invest that money yourself for 2 months, and then it probably won't go up much. But it is interesting that we're willing to give our money over to companies for a product that we have no idea the quality of.
Yeah, I agree. There is actually, now that I think about it, there's one game that I pre-ordered. I pre-ordered the Ruined King League of Legends story.
Okay.
The only reason I pre-ordered that is because it has the League of Legends name on it.
You are a sucker for League of Legends, is what I just heard.
Will snort any League of Legends content that comes out. I will, any day of the week.
Okay. So I have a question for you. So if this isn't necessarily, I mean, it is pre-order, but one of the other examples recently, and I could see League doing something like this in the future. I don't know if they have, because most of their stuff is free to play, so it generally doesn't have this. But some of their new games are paid, right? Like they're smaller side stories and that sort of stuff. But a beta that you mentioned earlier was like Diablo IV had an open or a closed and an open beta recently.
Yeah.
And the way that you got access to the closed beta, so there were 2 weekends. The first weekend was only open to people who pre-ordered the game and got the deluxe edition of the games. There were multiple tiers of the game. So you could pay like $110 Canadian, and then you would get access to that beta weekend. And that's becoming like a regular occurrence, is getting access to something early. So Lost Ark, for example, is a free-to-play game, but if you paid, I can't remember how much it was. It was a lot of money. If you paid, you could play 3 days early.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever done that?
I have never done that. No, that to me, it's not worth it to just buy the game to play it early. I mean, if you're really passionate about the game, if you really want to play it competitively, for example, it makes sense. But I also don't like this idea of paying for a game to play it early. It's like once you drop everyone in the game, not everyone's going to be playing on the same level. Like some people would have had a head start, essentially. And I don't know how to feel about that, to be honest.
Yeah,
I know what Diablo is doing is they're removing the leaderboards in the, what was it, the first couple of months, I believe.
Right. So it's like everybody has kind of a time frame to catch up and get on the same page before the leaderboards are introduced. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah, for me, it feels like a bit of gatekeeping. Not a term I use a lot, not really something I think about a lot, but for this one, it's like a financial barrier, right? So like by paying extra, you get to access a game before everybody else. It feels very exclusive. And, with skins and stuff, I'm okay with it. But having to watch everybody else play a game before you can even access it just because you don't have the extra $40 or whatever to set aside, like it's a huge amount of money. You're basically paying like a third of the price of the total game just to access it for 3 days, which is pretty wild.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's crazy, but also if you do it, I don't hold anything against you. It's an industry trend. It's not on the well, I guess it is on the consumers a little bit for like giving into it, but like it's not on the individual. These businesses are definitely taking advantage of people's who need to be in the zeitgeist.
Yeah, you know what? Whales are welcome here. If you pre-order games, if you pre-order,
if you roll for
Cyberpunk,
waifus like Sashi,
if you roll for waifus, that's it.
If you support League of Legends, we accept you.
Yeah, if you play ranked in League, you're welcome here. I know, it's crazy.
Just no toxicity. That is where we draw the line.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everyone's welcome and everyone is loved equally. That's the one. All right.
Not
Well,
quite,
wow. You don't have to say that. All right. So before we continue, I just wanted to mention that I scuffed your camera for the past 15 minutes, I believe. So
Wait, what does that even mean?
I accidentally clicked off of the of your camera, but you know what? We'll fix it in post. It's fine.
That's not how that works.
That it is. Yeah, we'll figure something out. It's
You
all
can
good.
just put my little avatar up there, and then that'll be
Yeah.
there for that period. Yeah. Okay.
It's all good.
Yeah.
This is a
First episode.
time.
First episode.
Yeah.
It's got to be scuffed.
Yeah.
It's got to be scuffed. If you don't have a first scuffed episode, my true belief is you can only go down if you have a perfect episode, right? So
Exactly.
we've got to start low and build high.
Exactly.
We have no expectations that anybody is going to watch this, and so eventually, though, we might get one viewer who comes in on like the 160-second episode, and they're going to be like, "Wow, I wonder what episode 1 was like," and they'll click on it and they'll be like, "Oh, they couldn't even get their cameras to work. That's cute," you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
But you know what? We're doing it. So hey, it took
We're
us
doing
like
it.
a year to get this started, but it's finally happening. So
Always. Yeah, it's
that's
great.
what's important.
I'm excited. Feels good. We're just chatting about video games. What
Feels
is there
good.
not to like here? You know.
Feels
Well, okay, my face, but again, now that's back up on screen. You
Wait a
could probably
minute.
take my cam off again, actually.
No, I would never. I would actually. You know what we should do? We should have you at full screen. Is what we could
No, that's okay. That's actually quite all right. I have no control here. This is the worst part. Usually, I am the person in control when we do these things, and I am much more comfortable with you directing the podcast. But the fact that you could put my face up fully on screen is slightly terrifying to me.
What
That
do you
I do
mean?
not like.
You don't trust me? I would never do that. Come on.
That makes me far more concerned that you said that.
What do you mean? I'm a very trustworthy European guy. Right?
Why you
can
got to throw
trust-
European in there? What does that have to do with it?
You can trust all Europeans. That's it.
Oh, is that true?
Of course.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We're legally binded to be trustworthy.
Ah, okay. Well, as long as I know that, then yeah, you do what you will, sir.
All right. Thank you. I will do what I will.
Please don't make me big. Just go back down.
All right. So, I am curious, Mr. CB.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about a little bit of the games that we like. I talked about playing Genshin Impact, which is a great game. Check it out. What are some games that you are excited about coming out, and what apart from Tears of the Kingdom? And what are some games that you are playing? Well, you're not playing any games right now because you're on a toxicity break. But I heard you were playing The Witcher 3. I heard you were playing. I heard you really like Persona games, which are some games that I have to try out. What are some games that I should check out coming out, or that have been out already? There's a lot of games that I haven't played, and I really want to get into some new stuff. So, give me something.
Yeah, I think we're looking at one of the strongest summers for gaming in a really, really long time. With the launch of Diablo, with the launch of Tears of the Kingdom.
You played
we
Diablo, right?
I did. I tried the beta. Did you get a chance to?
Nope, I didn't. I was abroad at the time, and I only had my work PC. And
That's right,
it
that's
always
right, I
has that
remember.
thing where you can't install anything. I'm like, oh, yeah, I can't even run it. I really wanted to play it, but I couldn't.
I know. Because we've talked about like a good co-op experience is hard to come by.
It is.
And I'm not really a competitive guy. I do play Overwatch, but I'm not huge into the competitive scene or anything like that. And so for me, I much prefer co-op games. So we've played like Warhammer, Vermintide. We've tried like Back 4 Blood and a few other games. But Diablo is one that you can kind of chill out and play. You don't have to think too much about. It's not a super intense experience. And so it's good for socializing as well as a bunch of other stuff. And you can build in different ways. There's different classes. I would say with Diablo 4 specifically, I was actually very impressed on some fronts, less impressed on other fronts. But overall, I was very, very happy with where the game was at. My first impressions were that the art style is so good.
It's so good,
Diablo
yes.
2 in the modern day. It looks so good. It sounds so good. The music's great. But the thing that surprised me the most was that I actually cared about the story.
Oh.
I did not expect that.
Yeah.
In every other ARPG, whether it's Diablo 3, Lost Ark, what was the Last Epoch? Was that it? Lost Epoch?
We don't talk about that one. That's
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. You know, I always skip through the story, and that's not like me. In most games, I love the story, and so it was really refreshing to boot this one up and be like, oh my goodness, like the story itself is really, really interesting, and so that was good. Where I think, and I will say, the combat felt good. It felt like classic Diablo, but just tighter. Looks great, all of that stuff. Like it was really good. My only disappointment is there's nothing really pushing the genre forward. Like Diablo was the one that created this genre in many ways. It's always been kind of the leader, and Diablo 4 just really does feel like more Diablo. It doesn't feel like it's doing anything new, and that's fine. It is an iteration, and it's a very polished iteration on that formula. It felt good, and it was like comfort food. But I did want to see them kind of push the boundaries a bit, and that didn't happen. That's my only disappointment.
I see. You know what? There you have it. CB's review of Diablo 4.
That's it, even before the game comes out. Otherwise, other games. So there's Diablo 4. Final Fantasy 16 is coming this summer, and that looks...
You're a big fan.
Yeah, well, because Final Fantasy hasn't had like a fantastic Game of the Year contender marquee mainline title in so long. I think Final Fantasy 10 is probably the last one that like everybody was on board of like, yes, this is pushing the boundaries. Final Fantasy 16 looks like it could be a Game of the Year contender, and that has just not happened in so long. So I'm very, very excited about that. Baldur's Gate 3.
Baldur's Flop 3. Yes, I know that game. That's the one.
Okay, to clarify, do you want to give people a little bit of insight into why you and I feel so strongly about Baldur's Gate?
Yes. So a couple of months ago, CB approached me with this game, Baldur's Gate 3. He was like, this game looks great. This is going to be like such a good game. I'm so excited. It's going to be best game that's releasing. Oh my God, this is going to score in the 90s. This is going to be like, it's going to take the world by storm. I was like, okay, I think we're, I think we're pushing the envelope here. I watched the trailer. I have to say it doesn't look too bad, but I was like, there's no way this is going to score anything in the 90s. And I even pushed it further. I believe this is not going to score in the 80s. There's no way. I don't know if it's just me, but this game looks like it's like a 2010 remake of Baldur's Gate 2. I don't know what to tell you. I know the previous two games came out and they were like scoring in the 90s, but I don't know what to tell you. This game.
If anyone is actually watching/listening to this podcast and you miraculously made it to this point, please tell Sashi that Baldur's Gate 3 is going to be incredible. So we have this bet. We have this bet going on. Sashi says it's not going to be even in the 80s. I said that I think it's going to be, I think I said above an 84. Like somewhere in that range. We have a bet of like where the score is going to be. And just tell him how good Divinity, Original Sin, and Original Sin 2 were. Like the pedigree of the studio is incredible. And all of the early access people are saying how good it is, all of this. Like there's so much positive sentiment around this game. I can't wait. And the great thing is, I like being on the side of optimism. You know, I like believing that a game will be good. And so I can't wait for the moment that I get to say to you, Baldur's Gate 3 is actually GOATY. You know?
See, like, I would love that. I would love for the game to be good, but I don't know, man.
You just don't think it will?
I don't think it's going to be. And I think that's a lot of my personal feelings as well, because I don't like that style of top-down game.
Right.
So, I don't know. It's one of those things.
And you know, It's most of the other games that we've mentioned, Final Fantasy, Diablo, another big game coming out this year, probably not in the summer, is like Spider-Man 2. Those are all like big games, and Baldur's Gate 3 is definitely not like a triple A game. It definitely has a little bit of that jank to it that we expect. But I still think it's going to be in the 90s. I think it's going to be
big words.
Really, really phenomenal.
Fighting words right there.
Fighting words indeed. Off the top of my head, I don't have a lot of other games that I'm like, oh, right, that's coming into, like, I need to play that day one. Like, I will be checking out Redfall. I don't expect it to be anything particularly special. I feel bad for saying that because Arcane does make great games, but I don't think so. Like, what's your hype level on that one?
Nah, I think that's a miss for me already. Honestly, just looking at how it's being handled, I watched the gameplay as well that was being released. It just you sit there and there's the enemy's just standing there running at you. It doesn't seem like it's gonna hit. It's gonna be on Game Pass, so
that's true.
There you go. That's a Game Pass game.
That's it. And that makes it so easy because if we try it out and we get 10 hours out of it, that's a win because we just have Game Pass. It's like it pays for itself at that point. Yeah. But it means that you don't feel bad for not investing a lot of your time into it because your time is what you're paying for, really. Yeah. It's like my time is more valuable than the money at this point. So yeah. Well, okay. I guess the only other game that really pops into my brain, I'll come with a full list next time of games coming out that I'm really looking forward to because there's just too many, is Advance Wars. Advance Wars was supposed to come out last year. Unfortunately, it was delayed for a full year. But I am very, very excited about Advance Wars because I love Fire Emblem. This comes from that same team. This is a remake of 1 and 2, which were on, I believe, the Game Boy Advance. And they're just jolly strategy RPGs, and they're great. Yeah, that's the only other one. What about you? Anything you're looking forward to?
I really want to play Legend of Zelda. I hope that gets ported into an emulator as soon as possible so I can play it legally, of course.
I hope so as well.
Yes, any day.
Legally,
yes. I'm really excited to play Diablo 4. To be honest, I know I missed out on the beta, but that is a game that I'm really looking forward to. Another game that I was quite excited to see how it does, although I wasn't sure if I was going to play it. I watched a lot of gameplay. I was really into all of the trailers that they did, was Suicide Squad. That game, to me, looked pretty good. I was like, oh, this actually seems like something that I would actually enjoy a lot. But then it got delayed.
This is interesting. Okay, I have some questions for you about this because I feel like the sentiment online was the opposite of kind of like what you're feeling. A lot of people felt that what they were seeing didn't line up with their expectations of what the game would be. And so like that's not how you're feeling. Like, I think a lot of people were surprised that it was a shooter. You're not like playing a melee character as like King Shark or using the boomerang as Captain Boomerang and that sort of stuff. So were you taken by surprise of the style of the game that it was?
I was not. I actually didn't know what to expect. I'm kind of the opposite of what everyone thought. So everyone came in saying like this is like kind of not what they expected once the trailers came out. Once the gameplay trailer came out, I thought it looked really cool. I was like, this is like my type of game. I keep thinking back to, I don't know if you've played it, the Prototype games, like Prototype 1, 2.
I never checked them out, no.
Oh my God, they were so good. And this is what that reminds me of. It has that same style of fluidity of gameplay. It feels really good. Like, it reminds me of how good it felt to play the Prototype games. And that's why I got really excited about them all of a sudden once the gameplay trailers dropped.
I love hearing that because, there has been so much negativity online, and I think some of it is warranted. But I do think that it's good to hear some positivity about the experience because, even if a lot of the design decisions were motivated by the kind of monetization model, there's still somebody on the team who is really passionate about the game they're making. And so I think they would appreciate hearing that you're really excited about how it looks.
Yeah. I love the gameplay. I think it's going to be really, really fun to play. And I hope it is. It looks like it is.
It looks, as you said, it looks really fluid in terms of the movement. Like they seem to have nailed the idea of always being on the go.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty exciting because it's almost like you're playing Spider-Man, but you are doing it as a team.
Yeah.
But I guess some of the disappointment came from the expectations of, it's by the people who made the Arkham games, and this is still another superhero game. So they were expecting something more along the lines almost of what Gotham Knights was trying to do in terms of multiplayer, but you're going to have very, very different powers or something. Like, I think there were a lot of expectations there. The other part that I think people were just a little thrown off by was the idea that this is a live service game.
Yeah.
So
I think so.
It has a battle pass. You're leveling up your weapons as the main thing, and it's all about skins. How do you feel about that side of things? Being more close to like Genshin than Arkham Knight.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that, to be honest. I know there's this other. I think a lot of people are comparing it to what was the Marvel game the Marvel's Avengers game where they have all
by
those,
Crystal Dynamics, right?
Yeah, exactly. Where they have all of those skins and stuff. I don't know. I feel this looks a lot more fun than that game. When I saw the trailers for like Marvel's Avengers, I was like, it's fancy, but there's no substance there to the gameplay. This feels more like an open world Saints Row game where you just get to walk around and do like goofy shit. And I love that. That's what I like.
How did you feel about... Okay, so it's true, because you're right. Like, tonally, this almost feels like Saints Row. There's lots of quips flying around in terms of the characters. Like, they're always bantering, and you're just flying around these environments, blowing stuff up.
Yeah.
But you're blowing stuff up by, like, shooting giant glowing orbs on enemies. Like, even to kill a tank, you have to shoot the glowing purple orb on it. How do you feel about that?
Yeah. I don't know. I have to play it to really feel it, but from the way it looks like it plays really well. Like the actual and I'm a big sucker for a fluidity of controls. That's why I like the Dark Souls games that much. So if the game like plays well, that's pretty much what matters to me. And it looks like it feels really good to play. So I don't actually mind these big orbs.
Okay, well, there we go. See, that's not too bad then. That's not too bad because you know what? It has been a lot of negative sentiment, and I think that contributed heavily because this game was supposed to be coming out in May. Like we're basically a month out from when it was going to be releasing. They just announced this delay.
That was a late
Why
delay.
do you think they delayed it?
I don't know. I hope it's because they didn't think it was as fun as it could be. So they're maybe adjusting some of the systems a little bit, some of the controls a little bit so that it plays a little bit better. Maybe it's the sentiment that people had, of course, with the orbs. Maybe they're gonna redo that. I don't know, but in any case, it looks really fun to me. All the abilities that the characters have, the weapons look like they feel really good to play. It's just I'm really excited about that game. That's one on my list to watch.
Are you disappointed at all? I guess my big thing with the weapons is just that they fall into like very standard shooter categories. Like it's like assault rifles, SMG, shotgun, that sort of sniper. Like I was hoping that we would get some more unique weapons because we're in this like heightened superhero reality. I was hoping that we might get some like really out there because Saints Row is actually a good example. They have like a dubstep gun.
The dubstep gun, yes.
Like what even is that? Or like Ratchet and Clank is famous for creating really wild weapons, and these fall into more of the whatever's in Valorant is what you have access to.
Yeah, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I don't think we need to have like crazy weapons in the game. I'm not sure what kind of weapons we would essentially get. I saw there's a lot of customization options, but it seems like they're pretty standard, and I think that's also fine. I don't think they necessarily need to do anything crazy with it. Again, if it plays well, it plays well, and that's what I'm excited about. It didn't used to be on my radar, so.
There we go. Okay, so the trailers worked for you because it went from being whatever project to I really want to play this now.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Exactly.
I like to hear that.
Really excited. But another game that I'm really excited about, which isn't getting talked about a lot, but I think it will come around and people will start talking about it, is Armored Core 6. I think
of course.
People are gonna go crazy about it once a couple of trailers drop. I think it's gonna be really good. I'm a big fan.
So
of
first
From
question,
Software.
Yeah, what is Armored Core 6 for anybody who doesn't know?
Yes, it is. It is the new game from Software, who are the creators of Bloodborne, of the Dark Souls series, of Elden Ring, which won Game of the Year as well. I'm so excited. I've played the Dark Souls games. I haven't played 3, but I am a huge fan of their games. They make really, really good games, and this seems like the next step up, like the next big thing where they're gonna just blow it out of the park, and I'm super excited. Honestly, this seems like my kind of game because it has robots. I haven't played any of the other Armored Core series. I don't know if you have, but
no, I have not. I've never played them. I've seen some gameplay, and that's about the extent of my knowledge.
Yeah, but
do I need to play the first 5 Armored Cores to come into Armored Core 6?
I don't think so. See, I started with Dark Souls 2, which is arguably the worst Dark Souls game, but
okay.
I really enjoyed it, and I ended up playing Dark Souls 1 as well once that was out. Dark Souls 3 wasn't out at the time, so
right.
But
my experience with the From Software games, I started with Bloodborne actually, and I love Bloodborne. Love
good.
Bloodborne. I went back. The only Dark Souls game that I've played is the first one actually. I liked that. I liked Bloodborne a lot more personally. I liked the tone of it. I liked the slightly faster combat. I liked the trick weapons a lot.
Yeah.
And then I have played Elden Ring. I played a lot of Elden Ring. Loved that. Easy game of the year for sure.
Easy.
Yeah,
I know.
Easy?
I know.
Easy.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's one of those things where they've become kind of like one of the strongest studios in the world. So like, how can they go wrong with Armored Core?
Yeah, exactly. They just put out bangers every time. So very excited. We haven't heard.
Do we have any idea on a release date for that though? Like, are we expecting like Elden Ring was announced back in 2019, 2020? 2020, right? And then it came out in 2022. Like, do we expect that kind of same turnaround?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's not going to release this year, although people are saying maybe it's going to release 2023, but I don't see that happening unless we get a really good trailer on the Summer Game Fest.
Yeah, that's the thing. We haven't even seen gameplay, right?
Yeah.
It was announced back at the Game Awards.
Yeah.
And then we haven't seen or heard anything since.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was just a reveal trailer. So I don't think it's going to come out this year.
But do you think this will score higher than Baldur's Gate 3?
Oh, yeah. There's no doubt. This is going to... Is that even a question?
If you say so. I mean, I would be willing to make a bet on that one. I'm not saying whether it's a better game for us. I just, I'd be curious.
On Armored Core, scoring better than Baldur's Gate.
What I'm curious. I'm going to look it up really quickly. What did Armored Core 5? If you had to guess, what did Armored Core 5 score on Metacritic?
Oh, I have no idea. I have not seen Armored Core 5.
Based on the pedigree of this studio.
Based on the pedigree of this studio, maybe 80 in the 80s. I would say 80, 85. Let's say 85.
All right. The Metacritic score is 65.
Okay, well. But you have to keep in mind that what From Software said is that they are going to try to make Armored Core into a Soulsborne game. And
they actually said that?
I believe so, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So
that's interesting. I mean, it makes sense, right? Like, they are a very different studio than when Armored Core came out. Like that was a PS3 game from...
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, I don't even know what the release date was. 2012. Like that's right after Dark Souls came out.
Yeah.
And so, wait. Yeah, Dark Souls came out on 11/11/11, right?
I can tell you.
I think so. I think it came out the same day as Skyrim, if I'm not mistaken. But either way, it's like around that time. That's like right when they were just kind of like taking off. And so they're a very, very different studio. I imagine Armored Core 6 will be a very solid product.
Yeah.
And I can't wait.
But in terms of it scoring higher than Baldur's Gate, I mean, I don't think that's even a question. Let's get
You're
it
right.
real.
It's not a question. Baldur's Gate 3 is going to score
Oh my
so
God,
high.
This guy.
So high. You've got,
This guy.
mark my words, Mr. Sashers.
This guy. I'll mark your words. I'll repeat them to you back when I eventually win. I'm very excited to see what I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna play Baldur's Gate 3. I'm gonna put myself through it, and I'm gonna give it a score.
It has co-op. Will you play with me?
It has co-op. Okay, yeah.
It does.
You know what?
It has on console. Not only does it have split screen, on PC, I believe you can play with up to 4 people, like a full party. And so, you know what? Let's play together, and
You know what?
I guarantee you will have a good time.
I'm sure I will. Look, we've had good times with really bad games, so I'm sure
That's
we
true.
can have good time with Baldur's Gate as well.
Yeah. Oh, see, he just said it was a good game because he's like, as what? Like that could be a good
No,
game
bad
compared
games.
to the bad games.
is what I said.
No. Anyways.
All right. Well, what else has been going on this week?
Well, what else has been going on? I guess my last big story for this week is that after Stadia died, Google completely shut it down. Good times, he says. Stadia shut down recently, like fully off the grid.
I love Stadia.
Originally, Phil Harrison had said that, we will keep Stadia alive. Businesses will be able to use the service. No, not true. They've completely shut down that cloud service. And it turns out that Phil Harrison, I think he was the CEO of Stadia or whatever his exact title was.
Yep.
He was the one who oversaw the project. He has now left the company.
Of course.
And this is unsurprising news. I mean, first, Jade Raymond left the company. She was brought on to create an original studio for them. Yeah. So it's not surprising to see him leave upon the closure. He didn't stay on at the company to work on other projects. But this is interesting because I've seen a lot of negative sentiment around Phil Harrison in general because how much do you know about his history in games?
From what I know, he hasn't had a very good track record of keeping things alive. So
yeah, and that seems to be the overall sentiment is people will point to, he was involved with the Xbox One launch, or he was involved with the PlayStation 3 launch.
Yeah,
and that's kind of the story with Phil Harrison. And I feel like I wanted to talk about it because I feel like he gets maligned for things that he's not really responsible for. So, for example, he was with Sony through many years. He was with them for the PlayStation 1, the PlayStation 2, and then with the PlayStation 3 launch, he wasn't actually involved with the hardware side of things. He was on the software side of bringing in developers. He's the one who brought Guerrilla Games into the Sony family. And so...
big sign.
Yeah, he actually did some very, very good work for them. And then when he left, he went and he worked for a few different people. He worked with Gaikai and some other people, and then he went to Xbox. And on the Xbox side of things, he also was not in charge of the hardware or those decisions. He was just one of the faces that unfortunately was aligned with that launch and some of those decisions. And I'm sure he was part of it, but I don't think it's fair to really put the entire launch of the Xbox One on Phil Harrison.
Yeah, that is true.
So he's done some good work. I'm not saying that I would go out and hire him if I had a new project launching. And I do think he is definitely responsible for some of the failings of Stadia, especially that business model and that sort of stuff. But I just wanted to put it out there that I do feel for him because I don't think he is solely responsible for the failings of all of those.
Yeah,
but he might have the pre-order CB curse where maybe don't attach him to a new product launch,
Yeah. Well, see, I believe he said on Twitter, stay tuned for news. So hey, it's possible that he's making his own company. So, hey, we're looking forward
Maybe,
to that.
or hear me out here. Nintendo's new console.
From Phil.
From Phil Harrison.
Phil Harrison.
Nintendo saw, they
Nintendo's
were
new
like, you know
console.
what? We need
That's
to
the
bring in
one.
Phil Harrison. He's got the big ideas we're looking for.
He's got the Google Stadia behind him. That's the guy. That's our guy.
That's our guy. He keeps failing upwards. Like, okay, let's say for a second that he really was responsible for the PS3 launch, the Xbox One launch, and the Stadia launch. How does he get to keep getting hired? He's failing up. If anything, the only place left for him to go is Nintendo.
True. You know what?
It's the only thing.
Yeah. You know what? Give him Nintendo Labo 2. That's the one. He's got it. He's gonna blow it out of the park.
Here's what he's okay. I've got a pitch for you. I'm gonna be Phil Harrison for a second.
All right, I'm listening.
I can't do a British accent, but pretend. Today,
Biscuits.
I am coming to you with an exciting new announcement for the world of Nintendo fans.
Crumpets.
I bring to you Nintendo Labo 2.
Criminy crumpets.
Now, we didn't want to bring you just another Nintendo Labo. So we have completely gone back to the drawing board. No more cardboard. That way
Nintendo
you
cardboard?
can. No more cardboard. That way you can build as many as you want. The entire project will be on your screen.
That's crazy.
Hear me out. It's going to be a cloud-based experience where you can build whatever you want on your screen. And at the end, you will be able to play with your creation. Wow. Nintendo
Absolutely.
Labo 2.
Absolutely revolutionary.
Revolutionary. Really, if you think about it, I mean, absolutely mind-blowing. It's almost like Minecraft.
Yeah, you know what?
Or Roblox.
Yeah, Roblox, even better. Nintendo Roblox. I was waiting for it for years. Could finally get it.
We've all been waiting for it for years.
Phil
Nintendo
Harrison.
has never had anything like Roblox.
Right? That's it.
And so, yeah, that's my my last news story for the week was Phil Harrison leaving Google because the shutdown of Stadia. So it will be interesting to see if he's still in the games industry or whether he goes elsewhere or what that next step is. As you said, he announced some news to come, but I will keep my eye out because he has now become, in my brain, just one of the interesting figures that I want to track in the gaming history space. He's like a Kojima where everything he touches becomes news.
Good or bad, but
Good
still.
or bad. Is there anything else in your world that happened this week in gaming?
I would say I watched the Super Mario movie yesterday, and it was the best thing I've seen. It was so good.
The best thing you've seen.
It is.
Okay,
up
well,
there.
okay. Let's
It is up
talk
there.
to me about it. So I haven't seen it yet. I have some friends that I'm going to see it with, and we just all had to coordinate calendars. And so we're going to be going this coming weekend, which is very, very exciting. I cannot wait. Without spoilers, what would you tell me? Like, what was so exciting about the movie?
To me, it was all the references to the games. It was. I can't spoil them because it's not going to have the same impact, but there was a lot of references to the games that were like, if you've played Mario games like Mario Odyssey, or even like the classic Marios, you're going to see those and you're going to be like, I know that. I've seen that in the game. I know this. I know this part.
Totally, yeah.
And I think that's why people love it so much. It's like one of those movies where critics who haven't played the game wouldn't really enjoy it, but then people are just going to go crazy about it. And that's how I felt. And it was really fun. It was just such a fun movie to watch. And
Feel
also,
good like the whole way through kind of thing?
yes, feel good all the way through. And it takes you in for some emotions actually. There's some times where I see a reference and I'm like, oh, feels good. And it just makes you tear up because it's so well made. It's like Illumination. They knew what they were doing with this movie.
They upped their game in terms of the animation department for sure. Even just watching the trailers, like it's beautiful.
It's beautiful. And Oh my god, I had such a good time. It was so good. I was almost late for it, but
wait, what? What happened?
I don't know. I was taking a nap, but then my nap turned into like 3 or 5 hours. I don't know, and I ended up getting up late, and I was like, oh, I gotta go to the movies. It's like in 20 minutes. So, but thankfully the movies are close by. But I couldn't get any popcorn. I had to go in with no popcorn, and I still enjoyed the movie.
That's not even seeing a movie at that point. That is a dry, foodless experience. But you still had a good time. So that's.
And I still had a good time. I know, it's crazy.
Wow.
It's crazy. But
see, yeah, it's interesting that you bring up like a lot of critics didn't really like it. It's at like a 56 or something on Rotten Tomatoes.
I know,
but a 96 audience score.
96 audience score, and I think it's well deserved. I think I would put it at a 96 for sure.
96. Yeah, it's funny, right? Because the big complaint that I heard from critics who had maybe played a game way back when, or even not familiar with the Mario franchise, is like, this is clearly only made for gamers. And it's like, is that a bad thing? Because, not every project has to be for everyone. And honestly, your project can't be for everyone. It's just not going to happen. Yeah. If you're making a kids movie, you can try to throw in some references that will be appealing to adults and try to make it, as not grating as possible. But at the end of the day, the parents are eventually going to get sick of that movie when they've watched Frozen for the 85th time. And, so you can't make a movie for everybody. If you're making a sci-fi movie, you're not going to be attracting fantasy fans if they're not interested in sci-fi. And so for this, it's like you're making a game for people who love Mario. Or sorry, you're making a movie for people who love Mario. Mm-hmm. And if you can make it entertaining enough, you will get some new people. But at the end of the day, it's going to be for the Mario fans. Like I don't think it's a bad thing to make a movie just for a certain group of people. And it has already been successful. It has been the most successful animated movie premiere of all time. It's setting records in both its first and its second week. Yeah. So I think it's safe to say the critics might be wrong on this one.
I think it's safe to say yes.
Yeah.
But it's so good. Definitely. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. I definitely recommend it. And
that'll be me this coming weekend. I can't wait. It's just going to be a jolly time.
It's going to be a jolly time. And look out for Baby Peach, because Baby Peach was the cutest thing I've ever seen.
Baby Peach? Okay, I will keep my eyes out. Is there anything else? Would you have recommendations? Okay. Is there a post-credit scene? Do I have to sit through to wait for that? I would assume so, right?
There is, yes, but after the first credits, I believe. Because there's like animated credits, and then it goes out into the full credits. But there is.
Did you not stick around to the end of the second credits?
I did not, no.
Sure, there wasn't a second post-credit scene?
I don't believe so, but you could check that out online. I don't think there was one, because there wasn't a lot of people that stayed, and I don't know. Maybe there is. Who knows?
There is.
There is?
There is indeed. Nintendo Life, the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Is there a post-credit scene? And the answer is, there is 2.
There is 2 post-credit scenes. I was like, I already saw that one, and I was like, okay, well, there was a post-credit scene, so there's probably not going to be a second one. And I was like,
they marveled it. They had double post-credit scenes.
They did. Oh my god.
You're going to have to look it up online now.
I have to go again. I have to watch it again.
Okay, actually, that's a preferable one. You can just do that thing. I used to, if I saw a movie that I really liked back in the day, I would just drag different groups of people. I'd be like, oh, you should see this movie. And they're like, oh, yeah, maybe. And I'm like, no, let's go. We're going like this weekend.
Oh, that would be nice. That would be nice. If I had any friends in real life, I would totally do that as well.
Hello?
Yeah.
This guy.
In real life, you're digital. You're not real.
No, it's true. I am not a real person or a real friend for that matter, but I am certain that you have lots of IRL friends that you could take.
Oh, it's crazy. They're all over.
Coworkers.
Yeah. I hear them all the time in my head.
Random people on the street.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I see. That guy on the bed back there,
Oh. Hey, yo. That's kind of
Hey, yo.
All right. Well, what have you been looking this past week, English?
Wait,
I
what?
speak-
What was that question? What
I-
have you been looking this past week?
Yeah, I speak English. Yeah, you know.
Okay, hold on. My brain is trying to interpret. Sashi speak to English. Hold on. Oh, I'm gonna go with what? No, I have no idea what you were saying.
What have you been up to this past week? These past weeks,
What have I been
actually.
up to? Well,
Yeah.
see, this is the thing. I'm still on my gaming break. I said
Yeah.
all of April. I'm probably gonna give that up because,
You're giving
as
that
I
up?
said,
Oh.
I think so. And here's the reason, right? So the reason that I took a break, one, I was super busy with work, but two, I was like, okay, well, I'll take this period. I'll detox before Breath of the Wild, but also,
Yeah.
Tears of the Kingdom. Also, I was like, oh, I never have time to do the other things that I want, like reading. Reading fell off big time during the pandemic. You would think I would do more of it being at home, but it's like, oh, I can
Yeah.
use that opportunity because games are so time consuming, especially if you're not
Yeah.
just doing story games where there's an end point. The minute you introduce a multiplayer game, like something that doesn't have an ending, okay, well, there's all of the other games that you're playing. So I figured, okay, if I take a break from games, I can do reading, I can watch stuff, I can go out and do stuff. And the reality is, instead, I just end up watching a lot more YouTube videos. I have done a lot of reading. I've gotten a lot of reading done, but mostly it's just been replaced by watching, like just
Yep.
filling time.
That's what I would do
And
as well.
so I don't really think it's been the experiment. Like the experiment has failed for the most part. It has been nice to step away from the 2+ weeks it's been now, but
Yeah.
I think it failed.
Failed experiment. Oh, well. I heard you have been working hard, though. So, hey, there's
Yes. Yeah. No, it's been a bit of a crunch period at work, and so that's been that. But
And you're
it's
finally
coming to
free.
a little bit. Yeah. So we finished up some of the shoots that we've been doing on this big project, and so that's nice. I will have a little bit more free time, and so that's why I was always like, you know what? Maybe I get back into some of these games here. Maybe.
Nice.
We'll see.
Well,
What about
I'm
you?
excited
What
to
has
have
happened
you.
this last week?
Nothing much, honestly. I have been very busy with work and school. I do work full time, and then I also study full time. So it is. It's a lot. It is a lot to do.
That
so
is
I
a
haven't.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah. There's men that work hard. There's men that hardly work, and me. I work to make men hard. I mean, what? I've been working. I've been working. I've been working hard.
happened? What just happened? This
do you-
podcast went from like a completely family friendly to highly inappropriate in T-minus like no time.
I mean, look, we gotta get the ad revenue in like the first 5 minutes. Then it's okay. Then we can say whatever we want. That's how YouTube
You just I'm putting that as the thumbnail now.
works. Okay, well, I don't know about that, but
No? That would get clicks.
I love it.
The podcast where Sashi gets nope.
I mean, yeah, no,
Gotta grow it somehow. The podcast I'm talking about.
All right, yeah, well,
Yep.
yeah. Look, we're just doubling down on it now. I love it.
Moving on. Anything else
I love
new in life though? Work, school, anything?
Yeah, I did go back to Bulgaria. I am from Bulgaria, so
Ooh.
I did visit that country again. It was very fun. I had a lot of fun. I didn't play any video games while I was there. I was pretty much just detoxing, as they say. So
You were cut off from civilization, I understand. Yes.
I was in the mountains, meditating with my, eating corn all day or whatever I do. It was really nice.
Is Bulgaria mountainous?
It has mountains. Yeah, it has the highest
mountains, okay.
peak on the Balkan Peninsula. Actually, the highest
Really?
peak. Yes, it's very high.
Have you ever Have you ever kind of gone, obviously probably not to the peak, but have you ever kind of ventured through the mountains there?
Yeah. Absolutely. We used to go skiing every year with my parents. It was like a tradition. Every year we're gonna go skiing. It was really, really fun.
Dang, that's cool. That's very, very cool.
And we also have beaches. So hey, it's a very
Wait,
nice
so
place
you
to
have
visit.
like every biome in
Yep.
a single country. You have beaches. You have
Yep.
a lot of forests. You have the sea. Jeez, what?
I know. It's crazy.
Everybody's skipping out on Bulgaria.
Everyone's skipping out on Bulgaria. I know. Well, it has a very big tourism sphere.
Oh, does it really?
Whatever. Yeah.
Ah, see, these are the things that I do not know about Bulgaria.
Yeah. But
So while
still,
you were there, basically you were just touching grass the entire time.
I was touching grass all day, every day. Yeah.
You were socializing. You were
That's
spending
it.
time outside.
Yep.
It's like
Exactly.
I don't even recognize you anymore.
I know. I haven't been the same ever since. I started playing Genshin again. It's like, who am I?
Yeah. This took a turn. Before you left, you didn't play Genshin. When you came back, you played Genshin. What happened?
I know. Maybe it's because I detox. Now I just enjoy Genshin more. Maybe
That's the
why.
thing. My one thing when I was like, well, I mean, still to this day, when I'm not playing stuff, I get cravings for very particular games. Like my problem before I stopped is I was playing like, as I said, like 8-10 games at a time. Like I was 1 minute I'd be playing Mafia, the next minute I would be playing Gravity Rush 2, the next minute I would be playing Overwatch, the next minute Final Fantasy 7 Remake. Like half the games I've already played before, but I just always would feel like something different. But what I noticed when I was not playing games is I would crave for something very particular, and I'd be like, okay, if I was to play, I could play this one game, and I should play it through to completion. I don't know if that would actually happen, but it feels like I've gotten a little bit of that focus back. So I'm less antsy to just play something, because it used to be where I'd be like, yeah, I feel like playing something, and I just don't know what, and then I'd scroll, kind of like Netflix. And so I'm hoping when I go back to gaming that I can kind of focus a little bit more, and maybe that's what I needed. The Genshin approach.
I don't know about that one.
No?
But maybe Overwatch. You're a big fan of Overwatch, so hey, maybe you're. Going
Yeah, I
back
feel like
into,
I need to move away from Overwatch because that's the one that's the most time consuming because there's absolutely no end to that.
Yeah,
I can burn through 40 hours and then walk away and I've gained nothing other than sadness.
Yep, that's it.
It's the League of Legends approach. Wow.
That's the League of Legends symptom.
No. I need to get back to playing stuff that has an end so I can feel at least a little bit of that
I know what you mean.
serotonin when I finish it.
Yeah.
Check it off my list.
Actually, I uninstalled Genshin for that reason. I just uninstalled it today. Yeah.
And you're like, I've had enough where I don't feel like I'm getting anything from this anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I was playing it too much. I didn't enjoy it that much, so it was time. But
it was time.
I think this is the 6th time I have uninstalled Genshin. So stay tuned for my next Genshin adventure.
This guy. Fall of this year, I guarantee there's going to be some new hero who drops, and you're going to be like,
oh, yeah.
Well, I live for Genshin now.
Yeah.
That's where my wallet goes.
That's where it goes directly.
Well, actually, no, because apparently you pulled both of your favorite people on the first try.
That is true. Yes, I did.
That's kind of crazy.
I know. It's crazy. I got both of them. So, I don't know. I don't think there's going to be anyone coming out that's cooler than Raiden, but we'll see.
Maybe. See, this is the thing. I've learned very quickly never to bet against Sashi because you always win. But despite that, I will get Baldur's Gate 3 to be above a 90.
We'll see.
Or at least above an 85. It's going to be high. But yeah, no. In any scenario where there's luck involved, do not bet against Sashi. It's just a bad idea. It's straight up just a bad idea.
Well, I don't know about that one. I play League of Legends, so you probably shouldn't listen to me in the first place. But hey, here we are. We'll see if we win. We'll see. The Baldur's Gate bet will decide that.
True. Very, very, very true. Well, shall we wrap this up? Our first episode of the Second Monitor podcast.
Yeah, first ever. Whoa.
First ever. Not that we've ever recorded anything before.
We would never do that. What do you mean?
No.
Us?
No.
No. Yeah, there wasn't. We wouldn't do that without people's consent. No.
No, not one. Not one podcast. Definitely not two that we didn't release.
Oh no, not one where I like had my mic on top of like a shoebox. There's no way.
No. We wouldn't do that.
Yeah, but anyway, it was really fun. If you have some things that you want us to discuss, let us know. I would love to talk about those. Any games that I want to try. I've been looking for some games to be playing. So we are aiming to do this bi-weekly, I believe, every other week. So you can expect it every other week. And there you have it.
That's it. That's that simple. We're not super formal here. Actually, you could even say we are fairly informal here, or just lazy and.
You could say that. You know, yeah, scuffed.
You could.
Also, is not.
I wouldn't. I would give us the benefit of the doubt. You know.
You would.
Good faith. Good faith.
I wouldn't. But, hey,
no.
That's why we're here.
Yeah. We to be totally honest, we do this definitely just as an excuse to like chat about games for like an hour and a half. That's definitely not. We have no ambitions with this.
That's it. Yeah, it gives me because you know what, CB's a very hard guy to get a hold of, so it's very nice to have it scheduled every.
Me?
Yeah.
What do you mean? I have no life.
Look, you have a partner. You're working full time. He's settled at this point. He's what every guy should look up to. That's it.
What does this even mean? After this, I have to go and do my taxes. That is not something to look up to.
Canadians, am I right?
Canadians. Yeah, don't.
SMHing my head. I know. It's crazy. All right. Well, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Have a good one.
Bye.
Doo-doo.